Welcome back to the AutoGuru podcast, your monthly dose of what's powering the automotive industry. Last month, we spoke to the heart of our operations and talking to our founder and CEO, Eden Shirley. And this month, we're talking to the brains of the business from a technology perspective in Barry Pryce. Barry's a tech wizard from Scotland who's found himself bringing the automotive industry in Australia into the 21st century. So, Barry, welcome to the show. Well, Barry, welcome to the show. I introduced you as being from Scottish origin, but what do you call yourself these days? Are you an Aussie these days, or still claim to be from Scotland?
Yeah, I think it's a challenging question for me because I've been out here in Australia for 21 years. And when you think about not a single accent or not a single word has managed to pollute the Scottishness, I would have to say that I'm actually an undercover Aussie. Because when I go back to the UK, nobody knows that I've spent the last 20 years over here in Australia. But when I think about my career, when I think about my relationships and everything else, it's all actually here in Australia. So I think now I call Australia home.
So when you go home, there's no sign for them that you've got any sort of Australian twang in the way you speak?
Well, I think living abroad and particularly working with people that might not be Aussies as well, I've tended to relax the accent a little bit. So friends and family tend to say, "Oh, why are you speaking so slowly? Why are you pronouncing some of your words?" Usually within about 3 days, it slips back into the typical strong dialect.
Fair enough. Well, I thought what might be a good thing to get us underway is a quick game of what's better, just to establish what you are in terms of current nationality. So give me, from your perspective, what's better, an Australian Aussie pie or a haggis from a Glasgow pub? What would you say?
Well, I think there's kind of levels of Australian Aussie pie.
There is.
You have
from
your,
very low levels.
You have your 4 and 20, go to the footy, pretty average but still acceptable, all the way up to your Kira Bakery post-surf pie, which is the real echelon. I think any day of the week it would have to be the pie.
You choose the pie.
Haggis is tolerable. It's not bad, but I think you get to the weekend, you go, I could have a sausage roll or a pie. I rarely get to the weekend and go, I think I'd love to have a haggis.
Fair enough. Okay, well, that's 1-0 to Australia. What about Braveheart or Crocodile Dundee? Which movie?
Oh, Braveheart every day of the week.
Okay, that's 1-0. Although there is an Aussie influence on that one as well. So,
well, I'm not sure. Is Mel Gibson actually Australian?
I'm not sure. I thought he was Aussie.
Yeah, we'll have to fact check that one. I'm not sure.
Okay, so what about a single malt Scotch or a Bundaberg rum? Where do you stand on that?
I think a single malt Scotch every day of the week. Bundaberg rum only gets better once you add various other ingredients like copious amounts of Coca-Cola or maybe 10 beers before you drink the Bundaberg rum.
That's fair enough. A Scottish kilt or a Billabong set of boardies?
I'll go with the boardies every day as well.
Aussie's coming back. Bagpipes or the didgeridoo?
Oh, I'm going to go 50-50 on that one if that's okay, because I actually quite like both of those.
Okay, fair enough. Glasgow Rangers or the Gold Coast Suns?
You're really challenging me today. This is quite interesting. I would go with the Gold Coast Suns.
Would you?
Because I've been watching them pretty much since their inception, and after many years, it's great to see them finally winning a lot of matches.
Well, okay, you're getting close. Simple Minds or Midnight Oil?
Got to go with Simple Minds on this one because they're the classic group.
Okay, well, I think I'll have to add that up. This could be the tiebreaker: the flower of Scotland or the Australian gum tree.
Oh, I've got to go with flower of Scotland. Both.
Is it actually a flower, or is it more like a thistle?
The flower of Scotland is the The national emblem is the thistle,
Right.
but Flower of Scotland is also the national anthem. So there's a double meaning there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to add that up later, but I think you're sort of still, there's still, you can't get the Scotsman out of you yet.
No.
I think,
Yeah.
Baz. I think there's still a fair bit of Scottish heritage running through those veins, I think.
Yeah.
I better ask you some questions about what we got you in here for from the tech.
Now let's just keep going with that. That was fun.
But that was good. Good to understand where you stood on that. Give me the elevator pitch for AutoGuru from your perspective, from a technology perspective.
Yeah. So from a technology perspective, I think you still have to go back to the underlying principles. And the basic fact is that consumers or drivers are completely blind when it comes to car servicing and repair. They don't know what's involved. They typically don't know if they've moved cities, for example. They don't know who to go to. And lastly, they don't know whether they're getting an amazing deal or whether they're getting completely ripped off. And all those factors combined, and then when you put on top of that the fact that it can be a significant expense for end consumers. All of that kind of comes together to the problem of, we set out 10 years ago to make car servicing easy. And if we can make auto care easy, which has been our mission for the last 10 years, then it removes friction for all parties. That's not only the driver, that's also the automotive repairer, or maybe the fleet company that's then looking to approve those jobs. And from a technology perspective, we really set out to create this baseline data engine. And through the use of structured data, we're able to say how long something takes, what's involved. And basically that then combines to allow us to create a structured data set that we know and we can use to then make good decisions on. And those good decisions can be for the end consumer, creating a seamless booking experience. It can be a fleet company to perform authorizations on those transactions. And really the principles that we've come across in the platform are our ability to book, whether that's an omni-channel booking experience all the way from Google through to a website, through to a mobile app, to manage. So manage those transactions and authorizations, to pay, basically give consumers the choice and options of flexible payment, give suppliers frictionless payment experiences, which are digital. And then last but not least, a key point of the platform is the integration. And how does this all tie together? And that's been a big challenge over the last 10 years, is legacy disparate data sets and how they all tie together.
That's really interesting. Baz, I was worried that you weren't gonna, us Scotsmen, we don't have a lot to say, but that was a really long elevator ride, so that was really good.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it made sense.
If we're to summarize that into just a 30-second summary of what it is that really AutoGuru is doing, what would you say to that?
Yeah, I'd say AutoGuru is a platform that allows drivers and repairers to transact seamlessly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one sentence answer. Yeah.
No, awesome. So if we were to briefly describe like the architecture of AutoGuru from a technology perspective, because we know that's your real skill set in the business, what makes it uniquely suited to tackle the challenges that exist in the automotive industry? And we know the automotive industry has traditionally been well behind, from a technology perspective. So, can you give us some insights just into what the architecture looks like at AutoGuru? And
yeah, sure. Like, I've been a strong cloud advocate for the last 20 years. In prior roles, I would bring a lot of on-premise servers into the cloud, and typically using AWS. Been responsible for moving significant data centers into cloud-based operations. The beauty of using the cloud is you then get access to infrastructure that can instantly scale up based on the demands of your applications and based on the demands that are coming from the platform itself. And the second advantage is with advancements in the various technologies in AWS, we can containerize and segregate various responsibilities within the platform. So we've chosen to take a service-based architecture. So a service, for example, may be a booking, service may be a payment, and it's really business-based objects then reflected as services. Those services are then containerized, and in a containerized environment, it means we can scale up, scale down, switch off, switch on without interruption. And it also gives us a high degree of redundancy. So if one system fails, another system quickly takes over. So what you're looking at is scalable, highly redundant infrastructure and service-based applications that sit on top of that. And then we have a real clear separation between what we send out to the applications and then how the applications are seen by end consumers. So we split that into what we call a front end and back end. And our back end is powered by APIs. So we're an API first platform. We use another technology called GraphQL, which allows us to reflect all of our data within a schema, which gives us a lot more flexibility than RESTful APIs. And then on the front end, we're using React to then consume our GraphQL and API infrastructure to then combine that with best of breed UI and UX to create simple interactions in an industry that tends to have legacy systems that look difficult to read, hard to interpret, and require training to use. Our mantra has been like the ultimate sophistication is to make something simple. So through that scalable architecture and creating applications that are similar to anyone picking up their mobile phone and going, well, I actually just intuitively know how to do this. By creating these easy and seamless experiences, I believe we've created this platform that's been really well accepted by our customers.
Awesome. That probably leads me to the next question, which is, with all of these fractured systems that have existed out there, siloed systems, how has what you've put together at AutoGuru really been a way of unifying all of that information or getting a baseline that everyone from a digital perspective can work with?
Yeah, I think in the automotive industry, this has been the challenge. If we go back 10 years ago, disparate legacy systems, there is no consistency, there is no benchmark of what constitutes value, what constitutes correctness, what is right and what is wrong. Over the years, through the creation of a data lake within our AutoGuru platform, we've been able to capture every interaction, and we're able to then aggregate this and anonymize this data such that we can then start gaining insights and start gaining more structured benchmarks as to what's involved and how much the things cost. And in the past, that never existed. A lot of fleet companies would have data analysts trying to make predictions about how much a vehicle will cost to service or maintain. But through that aggregation, we can then actually say, from an Australian or an ANZ viewpoint, this is correct, and this gives value. And so from moving from very unstructured telephone-based interactions through to structured digital data, with it all being stored and accessible, then opens up opportunities that haven't been available in the past, and that we're now offering out to our customers.
Yeah. Maybe we can change gears a little bit and talk about AI and what's happening there, because it seems like wherever you look at the moment, the artificial intelligence is being talked about. It's transforming industries everywhere. How do you see AI shaping the processes associated with AutoGuru, and I guess to open it up further, how does it just transform the industry at large from your perspective as someone who's got that technology base?
Yeah, like I'm probably showing off my age here, but there's been three major revolutions in the last 20 years. If we go back as far as, say, 98, 99, just before the dot-com bubble burst in 2000, it was the creation of data that went online. So Google appeared, websites appeared with knowledge, and everyone was like, wow, we can actually gain this knowledge now. Second major leap and jump was something I touched on earlier, which was the move from on-premise to cloud infrastructure.
Yeah.
And suddenly through the provision of AWS and Azure and GCP, all these services and offerings are then becoming available to businesses that traditionally it would only be larger enterprise businesses, or you'd have to spend a lot of money and time in order to create sophisticated software architectures. We're now in the third major jump. I mean, you might add in the mobile phone there with the iPhone, creation of the iPhone after the BlackBerry. But this phase we're in right now with AI is the most significant and fastest moving change that's happened in technology ever. Things are changing so quickly. Even as a technologist, it's difficult to keep up with how this is evolving and where it's actually going to go. If we go back to a business itself, businesses can really benefit from harnessing AI to look at the tasks that they spend a lot of time on that can be automated or replicated, and really lean in on that operational efficiency. A great example of that would be if you use Google Workspace. You really should transcribe and record everything, because it does an amazing job of telling you exactly what the conversation was, summarizing it, and even telling people involved in that, here's your actions, ingest them into your system, please go away and do them, and give reminders. So there's these simple elements that can really improve a business and how they operate. Coming back to AutoGuru and our technology, I think the first step that we'll take in AI really comes around about predictive analytics. Yes, we've got a large data set, a data lake that we can use statistics and mathematical models to run over to say this is what's involved, this is what it costs, this is where it can be done. But by adopting machine learning, we can then introduce so many more parameters within these models to then say, for example, if this was done in Metro Sydney versus being done near a mine site in regional Australia, how would that affect what has to be done, or potentially the cost of parts involved in doing that? So firstly, we can use ML to really significantly improve the prediction capabilities. Secondly, once you've got this level of structured data, you're then actually able to predict things that happen to a vehicle before they actually happen. And a great example of that would be tracking battery voltage on a vehicle, seeing it's dropped below whatever it is, 12.5, and saying, well, the next time this is serviced, you should actually take the battery out and change the battery over as well. So within the automotive service and repair industry, and within our technology specifically, we're moving from what is a reactive process, i.e. driver comes in, I'm doing this service, this repair may be needed, to more of a predictive and proactive experience where through our technology, drivers can book in advance. Through our technology and telematics integrations, we can say, this alert code has gone off, now here's the best location, and this is what has to happen. So really we're pulling up the funnel, these interactions, and turning it into a proactive rather than reactive experience.
Yeah.
And then the last piece involved is when you look at authorizations and fleet technology, very valuable staff are doing repetitive tasks, same day in, day out. They might even be picking up the telephone to do those tasks. So that's where we can put AI over these interactions and say, why is a human being doing this repetitive task when from the data we can infer that everything all looks correct, everything's above board, and everything's great. So make sure that the humans in the business are actually bringing value. They're bringing their expertise to then make good decisions in the areas that those decisions need to be made, and not basically doing the same thing day in, day out. So that's where I see AI really improving across all those areas.
Yeah. And so just to put those last two questions together and to summarize, the possibilities of AI are only really possible to maximize by having that digital layer down. Is that true? Like, it had to take that step, by getting this stack down that you're talking about, that then opens up these opportunities to maximize this with these new tools. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. You have to move from unstructured data sets into structured data sets.
Yeah.
In AutoGuru, we do everything to make sure that there's no such thing as a part or an item that we don't know what it is. We track custom parts and convert them into structured data. Once you've got structured data, you can then infer patterns. And that's not only structured data from text. That can be extracting structured data from images and from video and from other mediums. But realistically, specifically in the automotive industry, the knowledge of what has to be done and what's involved is actually sat in people's heads. And it's never, if it's in someone's head, then no matter how good AI gets, it's never actually you're never going to get the automation or the improvements there. So I think it's actually about getting unstructured data into structured formats, standardizing on ways of doing interactions, standardizing on these data formats, and then getting the knowledge out of people's heads so that knowledge can then be used to train AI.
Yeah. I think you touched on another element of AI that people are really concerned about, which is that AI is going to come in and take everybody's jobs over. Can we perhaps talk about that part of the human oversight that will still remain critical in all of this? You've talked about the standardized approach, but in this field anyway, there's still a lot of things that can be unique and need some oversight. So where do you, despite the massive advances in AI, perhaps talk about where the human oversight still plays a critical part in this process?
Yeah, human beings are always going to be in the mix and are always going to be required. Probably the best example that I can give that's probably relatable might be, let's say, the ANZ Falcon. So realistically, you'd look at it's not reasonable that human beings look at hundreds or millions of transactions every day and go, oh, all these transactions look correct. Yep. What they actually need is layers on top that allow human beings to then only look at transactions that require further scrutiny, only look at transactions that don't meet the patterns that are already established. And that's effectively what we're doing in the automotive space, is creating these benchmarks and allowing human beings to be involved where they really need to be involved, not where they're doing repetitive tasks that have failed to digitize. So I think it's important that people's experience and knowledge, the AI in this case is actually assisting them, because what it's doing is it's taking away all the noise and it's allowing them to focus in on exactly what they need to be doing and potentially giving them more bandwidth to perform operations and tasks that can give greater value back to the businesses that they work in.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Perhaps we can change gear into the team and culture that you've created at AutoGuru, because it's a big technology team, given what we're building over there. Can you give us some insights into what's it like to work in the tech team at AutoGuru? What's the vibe?
I would say the vibe is pretty good. I guess first up, we live in a very special location on the Gold Coast. Our offices are 300 meters to the beach. The lifestyle that the Gold Coast offers has made it quite easy to attract really good talent into the business.
Yep.
In terms of the technology team, we effectively have all the roles you need in order to go from ideation through to maintaining software that's live and in operations. So we've got everyone from product managers, analysts, front end, back end developers, designers, architects. So we've got everyone you need in order to create amazing software. And we tend not to outsource anything to third parties. So realistically, we have to eat our own dog food. We have to be responsible for creating amazing products, and we also have to be responsible for maintaining those. The tech team itself, we effectively, it's a very flat hierarchy. We all treat each other as adults. Yeah. It's less about policy and more about, is this right or is this wrong? And if it's wrong, what can we do to fix it? And that's without ego. That's without a blame culture. That's actually a positive, genuine desire to want to create the best experience possible for our customers and create a platform and technology that we're really proud of. The last thing is we tend to use all the latest and greatest technology. We try where possible to get rid of any legacy systems, and maybe our legacies might be modern stuff for some other businesses. But by always working at the forefront of technology means that we're always continually being stimulated and engaged. And we work really collaboratively together to create the best outcomes. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We've got families and lives, which means we're also super flexible. So we have a hybrid option of work from home and be in the office. When we're in the office, it makes sense that there's as many of us as possible. And then from a health perspective, we're probably more of a culture of let's go diving, let's go hiking at the weekend. We like to train at the beach every day, which is probably more stereotypical of the Gold Coast rather than the Sydney, Melbourne scene where people go, all right, let's go out for a drink after work. So we're probably more in the let's go for a run on the beach or let's go for a quick surf. And at the end of the day, that creates a super healthy and motivated team. And I think the tenure in the team has demonstrated how happy and engaged and positive everyone is. And it's a real pleasure to come in and work with such smart people.
Well, you've certainly got a very fit team over there, Baz. We see them racing out the door at lunch to train with you. That's certainly the reputation. I'd like you to try and make some predictions for the future at this point. From a technology and innovation perspective, we talked about AI, and that's obviously the one getting all the headlines at the moment. But what other technologies or trends do you see will revolutionize this space or in the next few years or anything else you sort of see coming on the horizon?
I think if we look specifically at automotive, a lot more manufacturers will move towards the model that Tesla have adopted, which is a Tesla vehicle is basically a computer on wheels that's served out via a nice API that then dictates how it works. I think we'll see other manufacturers adopt an API first approach into their vehicles that will then open up and be shared by third parties. I think from a telematics perspective, telematics will no longer be a device attached into a vehicle. Telematics will come natively with the vehicle, which represents a great opportunity, particularly as we have such a great network of repairers, and we have a network of fleets and other entities operating within our platform and fleet clients that they can really benefit from. If something's gone wrong, what's the best next action, and where can it be done quickly and efficiently? Going back to making auto care easy as our key vision. So definitely the telematics, the API-driven vehicles. The next one that I see coming, and it might not be immediately, is there will actually be less usage of mobile applications themselves. We'll actually start to see more voice prompts coming in to perform a next best action. And we could see that with agentic AI starting to emerge with both inbound and outbound type interactions that are contextually aware and understand what people are saying. So I think that's it's going to get very interesting when agentic AI can start performing functions like go away and book me a holiday to Bali, and I want these are the things that I want along the way.
Yeah.
Which
I want to be by the beach. I want a 3-star or
yeah,
a 4-star hotel and close to this particular location.
And we'll go beyond just presenting that information back to, oh, I've actually found you, these are the best flights, and I've booked you in on this one, and this is the best hotel based on the reviews here. Yeah. And I think AI is going to start performing tasks that 5 years ago we would have thought was mind-boggling.
And so applying that to AutoGuru, can you give us any sneak peeks as to the exciting technology that is in the pipe for AutoGuru, that can now be built on top of that base layer that a lot of the effort's gone into over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think going back to the value proposition, we're going to see a lot more automation in place, which does allow our customers to then focus in on delivering value out to their clients. I think that's going to be the biggest change. And then one of our biggest challenges is the lack of integration. And realistically, AI allows us to leapfrog the no integration path by allowing us to use conversational AI to then deliver out results. So I think that's a key one to watch in the near future as agentic AI then starts to perform tasks that would have required a deep integration in the past.
That's awesome, Barry. I think you've answered all the questions that I've had from a technology perspective today. I appreciate the time that you've given us. Coming back to that point of the comparisons between back home in Scotland and Australia, on a lighter note, how do you rate the Australian beaches versus the lochs of Scotland?
I think the Australian beaches are a lot more fun to be lying on because I think if you lay around a loch, you might end up in the hospital with hypothermia. But yeah, no, like I've seen a lot of the world, and you can't go past most Australian beaches. It's definitely world leading in that regard.
We live in a fantastic place in the world, don't we? And it's great to have a team that also enjoys working here as well. It's made it easier for us to attract talent as a result of that. And but it's nice to remember home as well too, isn't it? So thank you for giving us your time and giving us some insights into both what's happened historically and what's in store for the future. And we look forward to our next guest. Thanks, Baz.
Okay. Thank you. Cheers.
So there you have it. Some seriously sharp insight from the man behind the magic, Barry. Barry's taken us through the nuts and bolts of AutoGuru today and where we're heading next. In this episode, if that sparks some interest in how tech is really transforming vehicle maintenance, please feel free to reach out to us at AutoGuru. And we've got more industry insiders and innovative deep dives coming up in the next episode. Big thanks again to Barry for joining us. And as always, drive safe, stay curious, and keep your fleet rolling smarter. We'll catch you next month on the AutoGuru podcast.